Hello everyone and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 20th of June 2022. Holy moly, the year is almost halfway through already. It's Gary here again, and I'd like to start by wishing all Rangers dads out there across the world a belated Happy Father's Day for yesterday. I hope everyone got as spoiled as you wanted to get and you had a great time doing whatever it was you did with or without your family. I know some folks like to disappear from the family and that's their treat, and other folks like to spend time with the family. So whatever it is you did, I hope you had a great and well-deserved Father's Day. I do also want to extend a bit of an apology for not doing the pod last week. I had said on the pod the week before last that I would do my best to try and make some sort of content out and try and get it out maybe on Sunday or the Tuesday or something like that. But as usual, to be dead honest, I underestimated the busyness of a trip back home and the time just completely ran away from me. I also noticed that just on a completely different schedule when I'm on holiday. I don't know if you're like that, and I just kind of lose touch with reality in terms of what day it is and keeping up with current affairs and current events and sport and generally just not being in the groove that I normally am. So too bad that I couldn't make it work last week. Interestingly, this is pod number 78, weekly update number 78, and last week's was the first one we missed. So that's not too bad going that we hit 77 weeks in a row before missing one. I'm now back in Calgary in Canada and readjusting to my regular routine. So I'm sure within a few days I'll be back to normal and properly back on top of things as well. That's the plan and the hope anyway. So in the spirit of what Gaz got wrong last week, which was in fact now 2 weeks ago, I was contacted very shortly after the last pod was broadcasted by Rangers Football Club's supporters liaison officer Greg Marshall. I'm going to give him his whole title for this one, who was very, very disappointed in my reporting of the absent Friends football match in Las Vegas at the convention, and in particular our second game where he scored immediately from kickoff with literally the first kick of the ball. I kind of remember him shoving a guy out the way saying, I'm going to try this here. And he smashed it from the kickoff and put us 1-0 up. It was an incredible goal and one worthy of its own brand new section on any Rangers related podcast out there. But if anyone listened to the last pod, you'll know that I wasn't exactly myself. I was a wee bit tired. My voice wasn't quite 100% there, and my immediate aftermath recollection of certain events were a wee bit misinterpreted or misunderstood. I kind of couldn't remember, to be dead honest. So I did a quick tour of Ibrox last week after a very nice lunch up there too, and Greg joined us for a wee bit of the tour. And while I was in the manager's office with my love Erin and with my son Leo, and I'm just trying to kind of really soak things up, Greg once again made a point of bringing this up and really just kind of basically intimidating. I mean, I guess you could call it bullying. I think that's what we call it these days. So I have to appreciate I have to appreciate that this is really meaningful for him. It was an absolutely brilliant goal, and he was also at great pains to remind me that he, and I'm going to say this kind of in inverted commas, set up the second goal, which was the one I did discuss on the last pod there, that was scored by Calgary's own Davy McDonald. And Greg insists that he set that one up as well. I don't know if a big high punt up the pitch is called setting it up, but then I guess if you're looking after your numbers, you're looking after your numbers, and that's fair enough. Greg, my friend, I apologise for my oversight in what was truly a memorable moment. And the irony is that we acted, honestly folks, we acted as if we had just won the World Cup when he scored. Like everybody, we were in this big gigantic mishmash of guys in the middle of the pitch just going wild at this celebration, myself included. So how I managed to forget it, I have no clue. But I hope this special mention will get me back on the Rangers Football Club Christmas card list, and no ill will is there. It was superb and great to see you again, Greg. On the very same topic, also after the last pod, I was contacted by Calgary's other own, Dennis Reimer, to confirm that the Aaron Ramsey style fluffed kick to lose Team Canada our first game in the penalty shootout was indeed missed by none other than Mr. Ross Adair. Interestingly, Ross didn't contact me to confirm that after the fact, which I'm sure is probably just an absolute oversight, because he's just been very reasoning for absolutely no other reason other than that I can think of. Anyway, so Dennis missed kick number 2 to put us under pressure with what he described as the worst kick of my life. and having been there and witnessed it with my own eyes, it is difficult to imagine a worse one than what he did that day. So well done to you, Dennis, for fessing up, and rest assured you will not ever again be on penalty duties for Team Canada. If that was your plan or ploy to get removed from the penalties taking roster, then you succeeded, my friend. So I hope I've captured all the stuff that I was certainly directly involved with anyway, in terms of the football at the Absent Friends football match in Vegas. Seems like such a long time away. On to the game segment for this week. I'll just do a bit of an overview of the friendlies that we know about right now. I know that there's rumour around that there's some other friendlies in the offing, and no doubt by the time you listen to this podcast they'll be announced, and this will feel very dated, but that's just the way things go. What I know of right now is that Rangers have the warm weather training camp in Portugal, which is going to be taking place around about early July. I believe they're leaving kind of early, very, very early in July. And at the very end of that, we have a friendly against Sunderland on Saturday, the 9th of July. The last time I looked at the website, which was actually last night, to be honest, it listed the game as 12 a.m, but I think that was when I was in Halifax on my way back here. So I still even can't imagine it would be 12 a.m. Halifax time. Or maybe it could be, I'm not sure. However, it was a kind of TBD or to be confirmed sort of thing. So we'll find out what the time is going to be for that. But mark your calendars for the 9th of July. And the other one that I know of for sure is the home one at Ibrox on Saturday the 23rd of July, and that's a 3 p.m. kickoff, and that's against Spurs as well. I remember back in the day we played Spurs, and I think it was when Gaza was playing with Spurs, and we hadn't long signed Ian Ferguson, and the two of them had a hell of a battle in the middle of the field, which obviously Ian Ferguson won at the time. Gaza would come back and maybe redeem himself in a Rangers shirt at some point in the not too distant future from there. But Spurs, I don't know if we have much an affinity with Spurs as a club, but I don't mind them at all. And I did in fact apply for the manager's job there a number of years ago, and that's another story, and a true story at that as well. Anyway, the third round of the Champions League qualifications fixtures will be more clear around about the middle of July as well. I believe it's going to be July 18th, with Rangers going to be pitted against either Midtjylland from Denmark, AEK Larnaca, something like that, I don't know, Cyprus, Monaco from France, Sturm Graz from Austria, or Union Saint Gillois, something like that, from Belgium. So some old foes in there from years gone by, and we do know at that stage of the Champions League that it's going to be a tough tie, regardless of who we play. So as everyone is desperate to get to the group stages to enjoy the glamour and the prestige and the riches that will come from that. But hopefully we get a good tie there. Hopefully we make it through to the Champions League this year. That would just be absolutely tremendous. The new domestic league fixtures were also announced last week when I was back home, and our quest for 56 starts away at Livingston on the 30th of July with a 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's noon UK. So we're just getting right back into the awful kickoff times in the very first game of the season. Oh well, that's our fault for not winning 56 last season, and we'll just have to take it and take it on the chin, I guess. When the I don't know about you, but when the new fixtures come out, we're always looking for the significant ones, the significant domestic game, and we only need to wait until early September to visit Sharkhead in the first weekend of the month, followed immediately by a trip away to Aberdeen, I noticed. So these random scheduling systems sometimes give off a less than random vibe for me, if you know what I mean. However, we do need to go to all of these places throughout the course of the season, so bring it on is kind of what I say. So, I mean, the good news is we're just a couple of weeks away from getting back into match action, which is great, and seems like such a long time after a 65 game marathon season last season. But I'm starting to get to the spot now where I am missing it. That's almost a month since our last game. I guess you could say a month since the cup final was the 21st, and this is now the 20th. So yeah. On to RTV. As I mentioned previously, our main attentions for right now are ensuring everyone pays the remaining fees from last season for the service that they enjoyed from our partners at RTV. And I believe from my last conversation with Alec Grant, the NARSA treasurer, that we just have one club in delinquency now that we are working through with them. So hopefully, really, we need to get that done by the end of the month. So we will get that organised and see where we go from there. And I can't remember if I provided an overview on the last pod that we did, but we did have a meeting with David Melvin from Rangers TV a couple of weeks ago, and we will have some specific updates from that meeting to share with the member clubs in the coming weeks. I want to finish off last season first, and then we can discuss next season and beyond in due course. But as always with David, it was a fruitful conversation, and we got information from that, and that will be fairly material for NARSA moving forward. So I'm looking forward to sharing that information as well. For shout outs, firstly, I would like to send out both NARSA and my own personal sincere condolences on the passing of Rangers legend Davy Wilson, who passed away on the 14th of June, aged 85. You might remember that I think it was either later last year or maybe early this year, the Wilson family had announced that due to failing health, Davy Sr. would be retiring from match day appearances. He made 373 appearances over 11 seasons for Rangers, winning 4 league titles, 5 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups, and he was part of the Rangers team that reached the 1961 European Cup Winners' Cup final against Fiorentina as well, and he earned 22 caps for Scotland, scoring 10 goals. And just remember that this would have been at a time when international games were kind of scarce, and there wasn't an international break every 15 minutes like we have today. So to amass 22 caps probably took a number of years. Davy was a Hall of Famer, a legend with Rangers Scotland and Dundee United, where he moved after he left Rangers. And I know for a fact he will be missed by his entire family, both his blood family and his Rangers family. Davy's son, who is also Davy, joined us in Las Vegas for the convention earlier this month and had an absolute blast with the lads. They all sat at the Calgary table, which is obviously the prestige table, and he had a real blast before heading home and getting a chance to spend some time with his dad before his passing. I was hoping to be able to support Davy Jr. and represent NARSA at his dad's funeral, but my travel dates didn't allow that to happen. I left Scotland yesterday, and I believe I know that I missed the funeral, and the funeral wasn't going to be until later. I have passed on my own personal condolences to the family on behalf of myself and to NARSA, and Davy knows that I and we as NARSA are here for anything that he needs. How familiar and how regular does these sorts of messages feel on these pods nowadays? It's getting a bit worrying, That's just the way that life is working out for us for right now. Moving on to a happier note, I'd like to wish Big Andy Carey, who is the father of NARSA social media aficionado Andy Jr., a belated happy 70th birthday for this past Tuesday. As I was home last week, we managed to spend some time with Big Andy and his family on his birthday at a lovely Italian restaurant in Johnston. I can't actually remember the name of the place, but it actually was really nice. And that's probably not words that you'd expect to hear on a podcast. A lovely Italian restaurant in Johnson, but it was actually very, very good on the main road there as you come in. And we had a couple of beers to cheers this significant milestone for him. We also managed to get Andy a quick tour of the Rangers training centre at Auchenhowie on Thursday as a bit of a special gift for him, and we had an absolutely brilliant time there. It really was. It really was good. So happy belated birthday, Andy. Many happy returns, my friend. I'd also like to pass on NARSA's congratulations to newly installed Communications Director Fraser Muir on his daughter Fiona's wedding this coming Saturday in beautiful Kelowna in British Columbia, Canada here. She'll be marrying her sweetheart Chris, and the cool story of their journey to date is that they met at a football pitch, and then a number of, I'm assuming years, maybe it wasn't years, later, then Chris proposed to her at the very same spot that they originally met. I love all that sort of stuff. I'm just a sucker for the love stories. So that's pretty classy. I know Fraser is a very, very proud dad and is looking forward to formally welcoming Chris to the family. So congratulations to Fiona and to Chris, and of course to Fraser as well. And finally, on the shout-outs for this week, I'd like to one last time thank everyone, that has been in touch for their help and their love and their support on the devastating passing of my dad, Ronnie. Regular listeners will know that last Monday was the funeral, which was the reason that I couldn't do the pod as normal, and it was so well attended that there was just standing room only at the back, and we even had Greg Marshall show up and pay his respects on behalf of the club, and Rangers legend Gordon Smith showed up too, which is just so humbling and heartwarming. And we even had Graham Watson, a long-time NARSA friend, very fresh, kind of not very fresh to be honest, from his Vegas trip, come along and show just how genuinely tremendous the bond is amongst the Rangers family. I couldn't have been more humbled and appreciative of the help and support that we as a family have been given, and it has honestly helped more than you'll ever be able to know. We did what most Scottish funerals I've attended do, and that was royally kick the arse out of it at the Wellmeadow Bowling Club afterwards, and then into the very, very, very wee hours of Tuesday morning back at my sister Caroline's place. We, honestly, my dad Ronnie would have loved the send off and the camaraderie that we had, and I hope that he would have been proud by my eulogy. I almost managed to hold it together for the family, but there were a couple of very shaky moments in there, I don't mind admitting, especially towards the end. So now is quite honestly when the real recovery begins, and it's like a triple whammy of recovering from Seville, which built into Vegas, which then became Scotland, all in a few short weeks, and I don't mind telling you, I am physically and mentally exhausted, folks, and it's going to take me some time to get back into real life and adjusting to life, of course, without my dad being an everyday, very significant part of that. He's the biggest part of why I'm a Rangers fan, of course, in the first place, so he will be a big part of what my Rangers future will be for the remainder of my days, and he'll be present with me on the pods each and every week. In fact, a lot of the content that I would have, especially on the games from the pod, kind of came from conversations I had with him, after the games. He would see things I don't see in games, literally and figuratively as well, and I just won't have some of the comedy moments that I used to have to be able to share when he would absolutely flip his lid about the most innocuous of things that would happen, or things that maybe he just dreamt up. But I'm sure I'll be able to reminisce about that on the odd occasion as we move forward. But sincerely, folks, on behalf of the family, we can't thank you enough for everything that you did for us. And as I say, it's touched us in ways that you'll probably never be able to comprehend, but we do really appreciate it. Okay, on to our convention update. In wrapping up Las Vegas 2022, we're just awaiting the final bill from Planet Hollywood, which typically takes around 4 to 6 weeks after the event ends to know where we landed in terms of our targets that we have set in the contract for room attrition, for food and beverage consumption, and any other ancillary spend stuff as well. I know that Alec Grant is very keen to get this in his hands so that he can move on in preparing our convention financial statement, and then move on with the finalisation and wrapping up on the admin side of the event. We're also in the process right now of engaging in post-event lessons learned conversations internally within the NARSA executive for now, but we'll also be engaging with Planet Hollywood and Caesars Entertainment at large, and then of course our friends over at the Las Vegas Loyal Rangers Supporters Club as well. There are always so many lessons to be learned for this type and style of event, and even if the event was fantastic, which it was, we just need to do this and make sure that from next year onwards that everything will be better, and the kinks have been ironed out and things like that. But for us to put on a show like that after 3 years away after the pandemic, I'm so proud of everyone for the work and everything that they did. And what we will do from a lessons learned specific perspective is we will work on a QR code which will take you to a survey from next year, so that all of our guests will have easier and more accessible ways to provide us feedback, either during the event or after the event as well, just for comments, queries, questions, concerns, suggestions, things like that. We would have done it this year, but we just ran out of time. It was a good idea that was raised just a wee bit later than it gave us to get that organised. And I would also like to pass on our thanks and best wishes to Callum Beattie, who ended up a wee bit sick in Las Vegas, and as a result he couldn't attend the Saturday night Walter Smith Memorial grand banquet. I met him outside the hall just before we went in, and he was in pretty rough shape, the poor fella, but more than that, he was absolutely gutted about not being able to make it, and actually got out of his sick bed to come down and personally apologised. What a classy fellow he really is. And when he got back home, he was then diagnosed with glandular fever. So I don't mind admitting that I had to Google what that was. And one of the first questions that came up on my Google search is glandular fever a sexually transmitted disease? So I'm going to leave that one right there and quickly move on, because you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And speaking of the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet, I did get a chance last week to catch up with my new best friend Ethel Smith and her son Neil last Friday for a quick lunch, the lunch that I had mentioned earlier there, just prior to the quick tour that we got. And Ethel wanted to pass along both her and Walter's sister Liz's sincere thanks for their entire Vegas experience. They absolutely loved it, and I truly hope in some way that it helped in their ongoing healing process as they move forward as well. And as I mentioned, we did the quick tour of Ibrox, and I did get to see all of the improvements that have taken place in the last few years, and it's looking absolutely stunning and very, very practical, and I'll share a wee bit more about that a little bit later on. So on to NARSA 2023, which is being held in Toronto, Ontario, Canada from June the 15th to the 18th, 2023, which is incidentally actually Father's Day weekend that year. So if you were thinking of treating your dad, or if you're the dad and you want to be treated, I can confirm that with the best of my counting now, and as I said, I'm kind of tired, so I might have it wrong here, but I think I can confirm that it is 360 days until the first official event of the convention, which is just over 51 weeks away. Here we go again. This might have been in the shout out section, but yesterday was my sister Caroline, who I was living with when we were back home there. It was her love Craig Dallas's birthday, and she surprised him with a video of me informing him that her gift to him was a trip to Toronto 2023 to the NARSA convention. So he was absolutely stunned by it when he got showed in the video, because I just went all formal and said, I'm Gary, like we were boozing together the whole week, but I just went, hi, this is Gary from North American Rangers Supporters Association, and I'd like to cordially invite you to 2023, all that sort of thing. So he doesn't, so I know for a fact he's right now counting the days until that, but he doesn't have to do that because I just gave him the days there, and I'll do that every week from now on, Craig. So happy birthday again for yesterday, and thanks for everything last week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in Toronto. One main thing that we start to get at this time is people asking when the hotel and event tickets go up for sale. And this year will be slightly different to other years, especially for our guests from the UK, where we now have in place NARSA's official travel partner, the Holiday and Flight Centre, and they will be putting full packages together that will include your flights, your accommodation at the convention hotel, and the 3-night event package tickets as well. So for the first time in our history, we'll have a one-stop shop for all of your needs, which I'm truly hoping is a blueprint for the future and a genuine value add for everyone. The folks at the Holiday and Flight Centre will also work with you individually if you have bespoke travel needs that will still encompass a convention, but you're maybe going to do some stuff before or after or something like that. So that was I'd said at the convention when I was doing my speech on the Saturday night that was a bit of a TBD, and it remains to be that. But as I also mentioned at the AGM and during the speech, we're slowly at NARSA here, we're slowly but surely building a foundational structure to make NARSA both a more professional outfit in every facet of our operations, and also, and most importantly, to be much easier to deal with. I don't think we're difficult to deal with, that not by any stretch of the imagination, but to just make it genuinely easier. Vegas was our first foray into electronic ticketing, and while it wasn't without its challenges, I think it was an overall success and a marked improvement from the cardboard ticket days that we used to do, and we'll continue this continuous improvement trend as we move forward, and I will update you each week on any significant updates or changes that you need to know so that you're fully informed on everything that we're doing. What I can tell you is that if half of the guests who couldn't, and I'm talking about the VIP guests now, if half of the VIP guests who couldn't make it to Vegas for one reason or another do what they said they would do and commit to Toronto 2023, then the Toronto Midtown Rangers supporters clubs supporters club I should say are going to have an absolutely legendary event. I'm already getting excited about it just saying it out loud right now, so more to follow on that one. We have an opportunity of a full year to plan. We didn't have that luxury for Vegas, and we will get things out in due course. In terms of when the packages might become available for the full and all-encompassing package, we're talking about around about August time. So we'll get the season started and we'll get all the RTV set up. We'll get the packages organised properly. They will be sold through both the NARSA website and the attheconvention.com website that the Holiday and Travel Centre have put together as well. So just to give you an idea, it will be around about the August time frame. Listen to the podcast each week. I will update you, I promise. And I don't need to talk about the frequently asked questions document yet because we haven't done it. So that's okay. From a rapid fire communication content for this week, this is probably a wee bit dated, but I was interested to see that Rangers, Hearts and Celtic are all joining the Lowland League for next season, building on the success that was enjoyed for last season. I don't know about you, but I thought it was pretty cool to have so many different avenues to keep interest in Rangers going, like almost 24/7, like 7 days a week at least anyway. We had the men's first team, we had the women's team, and the B teams all regularly competing, and not to mention some of the younger lads as well. So that adds a wee bit more inclusion into the Rangers fold for many of us, which isn't a bad thing at all. So I thought I'll just kind of mention that as well. As I say, probably a wee bit dated. Rangers 72, the film telling the epic story of the 1972 Barcelona European Cup Winners' Cup winning team, is now available on Amazon Prime Video for UK and Ireland subscribers. And you remember I did a wee segment on that a while ago. I can't even remember when it was, maybe a month or so ago. So it is great now to see that it's on a more general release. I have asked the club when we can expect it on a worldwide release, but I didn't get a response prior to recording tonight, which is a wee bit of a downer. But I'm hoping that we'll get a worldwide release on that at some point over the summer. I imagine if it's on Prime there, and then maybe it'll eventually be on Prime for the rest of the world. If I get any more information about that, I'll certainly share on that. As players return from holidays and get back into the pre-season conditioning training and that sort of thing, I am assuming, or I'm at least hopeful that we'll start to see some activity on the transfers front to get some early targets in early. And I'm sure that'll depend on whether we make the Champions League group stages, but even then there'll still be some other targets in the pipeline that will be coming in anyway. Thus far you'll know that we've cemented the squad with Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield and Alan McGregor committing to another year, which is great. And we know that they've all been absolutely stellar and valuable contributors to us during their tenure with the club. But we know that we need a wee bit more. Obviously, we need a bit of youth in there, and we need some positions strengthened. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. It's just been very quiet. Obviously wrapping these guys up is a wee bit different than signing a brand new player, and I assume, I'm just making a big assumption here, folks, that it's when the players return is when they'll start to say, right, okay, show me the options I have, show me the opportunities that are in front of me, and then move on from there. And I did mention my lunch at Ibrox on Friday, and interestingly, I didn't know this until the day that we were there. It was the last day of the former caterer being involved with the club, and I have to say the meal was absolutely superb. It really was, and the service was great, of course, like it always is. And you might have seen, the reason I mentioned that is you might have seen today that Rangers announced a new partnership with Levy UK, and the article says Rangers are delighted to announce an exciting new commercial partnership with Levy UK to provide best-in-class matchday food and beverage experiences at Ibrox Stadium. The partnership will be based on an innovative joint profit share arrangement, with the majority of profits being retained by Rangers. Industry leaders Levy supply catering to several top UK stadia and venues such as the OVO Hydro, Stamford Bridge, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Villa Park. Ibrox is Levy's first sporting venue in Scotland, and they will work closely with Compass Scotland to deliver the same high-level quality and catering experience provided at Levy's venues across the globe. Levy and Compass Scotland already work together successfully, and they acted as the primary catering partner at the COP26 conference in Glasgow last year. Levy will serve Rangers fans' favourites, embracing the history and global heritage of the club while aiming to both modernise and enhance the food offering with a focus on sustainable local produce in line with the company's journey to net zero by 2027. In addition to the culinary expertise, Levy will introduce upgraded, innovative technology, including digital screens and other frictionless technologies to maximise the fan experience engagement and evolve the matchday experience across all levels. In close partnership with Rangers, Levy will also be managing non-match day meetings, conferences and events, including private celebrations and Christmas parties. Together, Rangers and Levy will be relaunching the club restaurant and the fantastic new Blue Sky Lounge later this year. Apologies that was so long, but there were some really interesting things in there, and more so towards the end. Obviously, the profit sharing is it innovative for Rangers? It seems to be. They made a point of mentioning it this time, which is great. I'm all about the profit sharing, and then that provides shared accountability between both parties. It's not one-sided anymore, which is very smart. And the second one was just, around the digital screens and other frictionless technologies to maximise the fan engagement and experience and things like that. I don't actually know what that means, but I'm going to be really, really interested to see what that looks like come match days. So it'll be good. We don't have too long to wait until the first home friendly, or the first home friendly that we know about right now, which is later next month. So yeah, good for them and for putting that together, and hopefully that will be a good experience for everyone involved. NARSA's partner Five Stars announced a signing session with Barry Ferguson and Craig Moore on Tuesday the 12th of July. I can't remember what else happens on that day, but it seems like a significant day. It'll come back to me. And you can purchase memorabilia directly from Five Stars, or you can drop off or post your own stuff into them and they'll have it ready for them to sign. So if you want any more information for that, you can go to their website and check it out, and I will put a link to the website in the blurb for tonight. I was fortunate to spend a wee bit of time with both guys in Seville before the game, and with Big Oz a bit more in Vegas, and these guys really do bleed royal blue. So that's a great coup for Five Stars to have them in their stable. And if that's your thing, to get some signed memorabilia, then go ahead. One last thing on the comms front, and it kind of likely doesn't really fit in here, but I mentioned briefly earlier that I was fortunate enough to get a tour of the Rangers training centre at Auchenhowie for Big Andy's birthday, and my nephew Michael joined us as well. And wow, what a place that is. It really is. It's incredible. I recall remembering hearing Steven Gerrard that he'd said to the players when he first joined, listen, we'll take care of everything you need and you concentrate solely on your football. And I can really see where he was coming from with both the Rangers training centre and some of the subtle changes that have taken place at Ibrox. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to talk ad nauseum about what I saw there, as quite frankly, I think I was privy to to viewing some real world class difference making competitive advantage things that our club has invested in on both of the tours. But suffice to say that when I think about the measures of success for Ross Wilson and his team, I primarily think about first team transfers. I talked about it briefly earlier. They're saying, right, these guys are great, but we need more. And, and also contractual situations for our most important players and things like that. But when I witnessed the attention to detail on some of the things at the Rangers training centre and at Ibrox, I can see that Ross and his team's job is a lot more, subtle and detailed than I had originally appreciated. It also makes me realise that the real absence of instantaneous success in almost every walk of life. If you think about it, in reality, where do we ever see instant success in anything? It's quite rare. I think the work that the folks are doing in the background will reap longer term benefits and rewards for the academy, youth, women and men's teams. And I'm not trying to be purposely vague on this one, but maybe take a wee bit of crumb of comfort that I've seen it with my own eyes. And even if you kind of refer to Liam Balogun's superbly crafted farewell message that he put on social media platforms, he also mentioned something similar to that in terms of the support and facilities that he was able to enjoy during his tenure with us. I loved it, and I genuinely do have a newfound appreciation for the behind the closed doors excellence and meticulousness and attention to detail that is required to build a whole club, entire excellence philosophy. So really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And thanks to everybody that made that happen as well. That'll do it for this week, my friends. I didn't realise it was going to be quite as long as it is. I guess when I miss a week, you get a wee bumper edition the next week. But let's not do that again. And back to normal. You can expect this from this point forward that we will go on the Monday, as quite literally, I cannot afford to go anywhere for the remainder of the year, as Seville, Vegas and Scotland absolutely rooked me. So as always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, please do take care of yourselves. All the very best, folks. Cheerio.